You are quietly killing your kid's confidence every time you speak like this. And the worst part is, you don't even know you're doing it. What may feel like discipline to you, to them, rejection. What feels like just being honest, to them, is shame. These moments add up, and they are shaping who your child believes they are. Most parents, grandparents, caretakers, and in my case, older siblings, never realize that they are destroying trust until it's too late. But in this video, I'm gonna share with you the 5 most common things I was doing, and a lot of us are most likely doing, which destroys the trust with our kids and the confidence in our kids. And number 4 is the most common one I've seen through my parents, my friends who have kids right now, and all of my friends who have younger siblings. The first very subtle habit that I had was reacting with anger. And reacting with anger only teaches fear. I'm sure anybody who's dealt with kids has been here. My mom, me, my big sister have all told my little sister, who is 11 right now, you need to sit at the table because you're a little clumsy and you tend to drop stuff, drinks, bowls of cereal, whatever. So one day she's strolling along. I see her go right past the table she's supposed to be sitting at. She bends the corner, her arm bumps into the couch, and boom, I think it was yogurt or something, falls out of her hand, hits the ground perfectly, sitting face up, so it shoots up into the air and then goes all over the couch. Oh, I can remember the poor look on her face. She looks directly at me, expecting me to scold her. And I almost did. I could feel it coming up, how many fucking times do I have to? Yes, I'm gonna be blunt and honest with you. I cuss, and it's not a good habit, and it's not a good way to get your point across. But I know a lot of us do it. I've seen it, I've witnessed it, and if you can't admit it, you're probably lying. But I caught myself because I saw the look on her face. It wasn't fear of the mess that she had made. It was a fear of me. Now she knows I'm big brother and I'd never hurt her. I've never laid my hands on anybody outside of a combat situation, but I am 6'5", and as you can probably hear, with a very loud voice and a very aggressive pissed face. So I can see why she still gets scared. When we are reacting with anger over what are clearly mistakes, kids don't learn responsibility, no matter how many times we tell them to do something. They learn to be filled with fear, they learn to react, and they learn to be filled with anxiety as well. The more that we do this, they don't think whenever they make these mistakes, oh, I messed up. They think, I'm messed up. So let me tell you the first hard truth that I realized about myself and I realized about a lot of parents around me. If your default is to have to snap at kids to get them to do what you want to do, then somewhere along the line, you failed to lead. Whether you realize this or not, we are the leaders of our family. Our family is a team. We show the way, not yell the way. So try this instead. Before you snap at them, ask yourself this: did I take the time to clearly show what they should be doing? Do I model this consistently without fail, like I'm expecting from them? Do I really need to yell to get my point across? Or perhaps is there another way? It wasn't about just changing the way that I snapped at her. It was about starting to build a relationship filled with trust. And that was the beginning of a real relationship, not a dictatorship. The second thing I realized that I do, that a lot of us do, is ignoring those small signals that leads to creating that distance. A lot of the times I'm sitting there working on my computer, whether it's for work or whether it's for personal stuff, and she runs up to me with such excitement to try to show me a picture that she drew. The first time she showed it to me, I looked at her and I gave her a little nod because I was so zoned in on what I was doing. She comes back around a couple minutes later to try to show me the improvements that she made on it, and I gave her that distracted, cool. She runs off to go fix it up a little bit and show me it one more time. And of course, just what I was doing was so important, I told her not now. So she walked off quietly, and that quiet hit harder than any outburst ever could. Kids rarely are ever gonna say anything to the effect of, I feel disconnected from you. They say, watch me, look at this. And one I'm sure we hear a lot, can I help? And when those moments are dismissed, they eventually stop trying. If you wanna be a real leader of your family, then that means being present even when it's inconvenient. Look, I'm not saying they're not little annoying shits. We love them to death, but holy fuck. Sometimes they just... But let me ask you this. Would you ignore your boss in the middle of a meeting? then let's not ignore our kids in the middle of a moment. This seems like a no-brainer when asked out loud, but let's look at the way that we treat them. Do we care about our boss and our jobs more than we care about our kids? Just take one moment to pause. Look them in the eye, just like you want them to look you in the eye when you're talking to them, and let them know that they matter. And I started to see that once I stopped treating her like she was some problem to be had, she stopped acting like a problem. And what I changed wasn't what I said. She saw that it was what I did. And I find that this third point goes across many facets of life, but we tend to do it with our kids automatically. And that is specifically yelling. I know I touched on it a little bit in the first one about snapping, but snapping could be without yelling. I'm talking about raising your voice to try to get them to do something. Sometimes I yell at her and I don't even know what the fuck it's about. But what I do remember is that look on her face. You want to talk about a look of betrayal? That look of, how could you do this to me without having to say a word? Comes when I yell at her every single time. And a lot of the time she doesn't even cry. She just shuts down. How fucked up is it for me to think that someone my size in that position who she trusts should yell at her? And what I realized was I had just taught her that not only am I unpredictable, I am no longer a safe space. She can't come to me with her thoughts, concerns, and problems. Because what if he yells? Yelling does not communicate strength. It does not communicate authority. All it does is show that we have already lost control. Even to kids. Kids learn to obey out of fear, not respect. And over time, I know it would happen if I kept doing this into her teenage years. She's just not gonna listen. She's gonna go off and do the same shit I did. Fuck off, I'm gonna go do whatever I want. I don't give a shit what you have to say. You may have heard this before. A man or a person forced against their will is of the same opinion still. So just because they're doing what you said doesn't mean they like you, or that doesn't mean that they respect you. So next time you catch yourself yelling, trying to get what you want out of your kids, take a moment to pause and reflect, where did you screw up? Did you really plan ahead? Did you really give clear expectations? And did you create a safe place for correction, not a hostile environment? Because what I'm learning as I continue to go through life and learn communication, whether it's with adults or whether it's with kids, good leadership is proactive, not reactive. So the second that I stopped trying to dominate and control the situation, I actually had the opportunity to lead. Number 4. Now I have seen this with every parent, with every grandparent, with every older brother or sister, babysitter, daycare taker. I don't give a shit. I've seen it. Unrealistic standards that destroy trust. One time after a long day at work, I come home, and shortly after, she strolls to the door with a big smile on her face. And she says, "Brother, look, I got an 82 on my test." Instead of saying, "Good job," instead of saying, "How was your day?" I said, "Well, where'd the other 18 points go?" I was honestly just being a little bit of an asshole, joking around. Didn't really think about it too much, but there it went. The pride in her eyes. All that hard work that she had done, I just took it and I stomped on it. Pride, straight to shame. Or another good example that a lot of us probably run into is when we tell them to go clean something. We come in and we check what they've done, and sometimes we wonder, who taught you this? Exactly. Sure, maybe you're a little bit better at cleaning now. Maybe you're a little bit smarter now than you used to be whenever you were a kid. But think about when you were a kid. Were you any better than them? I can almost guarantee you no, because I sure as shit was not. So we hold them to these standards that we've developed after 20, 30, 40 years of life, which aren't that great, by the way, whenever they're kids. Probably one of the funniest things I see from adults nowadays is how much they harp on kids for being on their phone. But guess what? Kids can't drive cars. And when I'm driving on the road, all I see is a bunch of motherfuckers on their phone like this while driving. That's interesting. And sometimes they're even old with gray hair. So I guess it doesn't matter the generation that you're in. You're all doing the same shit, but then looking down and judging them for it. When you're the ones who taught it to them, when you're the ones who handed it to them. Crazy. We expect them to perform perfectly, while we can't even control our own tempers, our phones, or our own goals for that matter. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of this guy called Jocko Willink, but I would look him up if you're wondering about leadership, because he taught me that leaders destroy trust when they themselves cannot deliver on the things they are demanding. And parents, grandparents, big brothers, babysitters, whatever, we are their first leaders. So what we got to do is start celebrating the effort put into things, not just the results. Listen, that is one of the most valuable life points I have ever learned. Fuck the result. Life is about the process. That is the reward. So start teaching your kids that, and they'll start appreciating things a little bit more. Catch yourself before you start trying to correct something that doesn't really need to be corrected, because they're just going through the process. And reflect. Would you want somebody who's in charge of you, like your boss, talking to you and treating you in that way? So when I started praising the progress instead of preaching perfection, she really started to gain some momentum in life and really started to find stuff that she loved. And lastly, trying to fix them before making a connection in the correction just confuses them even further. I used to think that trying to find some lesson to teach her as quick as possible whenever she was crying or confused or sad about something mattered more than just being in the moment and listening. Maybe she's sad about going on to the 5th grade and she might lose some of her friends. Maybe she's upset that she didn't do as well in her volleyball game as she would have liked. Instead of acknowledging those feelings and saying, it seems like that is upsetting you a little bit, or it sounds like you're really gonna miss your friends, I would say some stupid shit to the effect of, oh, it's okay, you'll find some new ones. Oh, don't worry, there's always next time. I thought I was helping by trying to help her move on past it in the dysfunctional way that I always did. But instead of addressing her feelings and labeling them for her and helping her understand them, I just brushed them to the side. If you have a bridge and it's starting to crumble a little bit, you don't start rolling a truckload of rules over it. You stop and you fix the bridge first. So looking at how I grew up and looking at how I watched others grow up, discipline without connection leads to rebellions, and corrections without connections lead to shame. Because we never learn how to face and own our emotions and grow from them, now we're gonna pass it on to our kids and they're gonna pass it on to their kids. The first thing we have to do is own the emotional environment. Don't be afraid of it. If they're really sad, if they need some consoling, if they're really angry, label their emotions. It's something I learned from a book called Never Split the Difference. Don't feel their emotion, label it. It seems like that's really upsetting you. It sounds like that's making you a little bit sad. It looks like you really want to do better next time. This is a huge one I've been doing, and it takes shoving your ego into the fucking trash. If you cause the stress, take responsibility. At least 2 to 3 times a month, I sit down with my little sister because I'm working on not being an asshole. And I say, hey, I'm sure you've probably noticed I've been a little bit more of an asshole to you this past month. She just, yep. Well, I was wrong for that. And I'm working on it. And if there's anything I can do to make it right, just let me know. But I'm going to continue to work on it. Imagine that. Not just apologizing to your kids, making an amends with your kids. And making an amends means to change. Sorry means you did it on accident. Most of the shit, we don't do it on accident. So the more that we take ownership for what we have caused in our kids, the more that we take time to correct things in a calm manner instead of a chaotic manner, we show them how to lead and we show them what love is. Having that patience with her is making me better at fixing my own failures and mistakes. If you're curious about the subtle effects that alcohol is having on unexpected areas of your life, watch this video here.